When we had the gold commission, I introduced a resolution for the commission to audit the gold. There were 17 of us on the commission, and 15 voted say, "Oh no, we don't need to know. That'll just stir up financial problem. We don't want to scare people."
Well, listen, Dr. Paul, as you know, gold just topped $3,100 an ounce after its best quarter in nearly 40 years. Central banks are buying, the dollar seems to be wobbling, and Americans are watching inflation eat away at their savings. Is this the moment sound money finally goes mainstream?
It certainly looks like it, but we don't know exactly what mainstream means. This might be the beginning of the end of a whole currency and a reserve system that we've been living with, half-heartedly, for a long time, especially since World War II. Mm-hmm. So no, I think the mainstream is getting noticed. They're noticing this, but it's unknown. I can recall not too many years ago, though, the gold went up a bit, then it went down to $1,000. And in 1916, I think it was looking like, to me, I thought it was 2016, that I thought we were going into another bull market. Mm-hmm. Even though I've watched this since gold was $35 an ounce, it still is sort of shocking. Even though I think, well, why should you be shocked? I'm not shocked, but to talk about $3,000 an ounce of gold when I hold up my gold pieces I bought, for about $40 or so, it's just amazing. Mm-hmm. Even though those predictions were available to. As a matter of fact, I got involved when I ran across some Austrian economists who were writing about this in the 1960s, and they predicted the Bretton Woods Agreement would break down. Mm-hmm. We're wasting and spending too much money and giving it away. And sure enough, that is what happened. And that was a big date in my understanding of 1971 in August that, the gold window was closed. And look at what's happened since then. I think it's going to continue. And the longer it continues, the more people will be joining us.
Mm-hmm. On the macro front, Dr. Paul, let's get your take on why gold is seeing such a historical moment right now. And where do you think it's heading next?
Well, I think that nobody knows exactly, because sometimes I think, well, this is the takeoff forever and we're going to have, Zimbabwe and have Venezuela. And it doesn't happen. And I think that because there's a subjective element in there. But what I look at, if I wonder, well, let's say next month we have a correction that is far beyond than the people who thought the bulls on this is going up forever and the dollar's going to zero and all of this, and then they may be shocked. But I think that could happen, but it's totally unknown. But the thing that I watch to find out when I think, well, maybe it is going to end or something, I look at deficit financing. I think that is the biggest thing. The supply of money and the supply of credit for our evil foreign policy and our wicked domestic policy, our welfare state, and all the special interests that go, and the people demanding more and more. We make an effort, and Trump's trying to make an effort. He's getting a lot of grief over that, of cutting anything. So, Leonard Reed, a favorite of mine in the past, he says, everybody wants to balance the budget, but they all have a but. Yeah. And that's what we're seeing now. There's a lot of buts out there, and they're going to rally together. So that makes it more difficult. But the deficit is the ultimate tool. And even though Barry Goldwater and the rest talked about this, no calamity occurred, but the handwriting on the wall occurred in August 15th, 1971, and it's been there, and the handwriting is getting bigger and bigger, because how much longer can the whole system tolerate $36 trillion of debt? Yeah. And this, even with this serious effort to cut back, I'm not expecting miracles to come up with a balanced budget next year.
Speaking of revolutions, I mean, the buzz online is loud. Calls to audit Fort Knox are trending, and President Trump said he wants to open the doors to see if the gold's really there. You were the original voice demanding transparency on this movement. Do you think we'll ever get transparency on America's gold reserves?
Probably not. Because even if they open it up, we say we're going to have 1,010, and they prove it and they show it to you. You don't know who owns it, because that loan things out. That's a big business there. They're shifting that around, and they use that as collateral. So I would say what they show you won't matter. The last time they pretended to have a audit in the 50s, I think it was in the 50s, it was totally inadequate. They probably looked at about 10% of the gold. They just peeked in the door of the others. So, it would expose them too much. And that's why they don't want an audit of the Fed. When we had the Gold Commission, I introduced a resolution for the commission to audit the gold. There were 17 of us on the commission, and 15 voted say, "Oh no, we don't need to know. That'll just stir up financial problem. We don't want to scare people." So that's how crazy. So I don't hold my breath for it, even though I use that as a point to why they do this. Why do they not want us to know exactly what's happening with the finances? And the biggest thing that they protect is the information dealing with international business agreements. So the way the Fed behind the scenes will bail out countries. And I am sure there's trillions and trillions of dollars in the midst of a crisis where they bailing out everybody. That a lot of money is transaction, and they save some, the other, and not too many really go down, because everybody has to be saved.
And Doctor, I mean, you've argued that the Fed wields enormous power over the economy, yet it operates in a black box, unaccountable to Congress or even the people. I mean, how can we push to audit the Fed, including, exposing Fed's monetary policy actions, foreign transactions, and even emergency bailouts that you just talked about?
Well, there's been some expression, those that they should look into that, as part of their project, but I'm not holding my breath. I don't think that's going to happen. Because it's too complicated. There's too much behind the scenes. And then when you hear presidents endlessly giving us certain promises, then they get elected. And it's not too long after that those promises don't mean much. And we find out, well, there's powerful special interests in the deep state and the lobbyists, whether they're pharmaceutical or military industrial complex, they can change the opinions of the people in power. So it's the whole system that's bad. I think it's the rejection of a system, the constitutional system, and I think there's a group that would like to seek out truth and find out what's going on and talk about it. But that is canceled out by the majority of the people now are nihilists. There's so many in Washington. They would tell me point blank, you can't know those things. They're impossible to know. So we don't think